Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Citizen A. We're reviewing the week with bloggers Phoebe Fletcher and Selwyn Manning. Issue 3 this week, guns don't kill people. People with guns kill people. How exactly will arming the police make things safer? A very, very, very cynical person would say that Police Association President Greg O'Connor seems to be using the last 2 police shootings to promote armed police. Phoebe, in the West Auckland shooting this week, the police have gone from describing a gunfight to a couple of shots fired to we're not sure the person we shot even fired at us anymore. Is cynicism towards Greg O'Connor justified?
I think it is justified, but on the other hand, I think he is doing his job. I mean, I think if we want to get a clear perspective of what happened in that shooting, it's not going to come off the chairman of the Police Association because it's his job to basically buttress police and reinforce their role. I also think it comes off the need for immediacy in news media as well, that now that you've got journalists that are monitoring police radars, I believe Auckland Police even have their own Twitter stream, which I subscribed to for a while before it terrified me, that, you know, we're also seeing the information that they don't know about coming out. But I think if we want to look for a clear opinion on what happened in West Auckland, it's certainly not going to come from Greg O'Connor.
Right.
Yeah.
So the only way guns would have saved those 2 officers ambushed last week is if the officers had entered the house with guns drawn. Are we really going to agree to police entering homes using warrantless searches with guns drawn?
You know, we've already got the first step of this type of arming New Zealand police that's existed for some time, you know, in the sense that every police officer on the beat has access to a firearm pretty closely. If it's not under the right seat of the police car in some sort of gun safe, there's somebody close by that is able to equip them. Also, we've seen the same argument, Bomber, with the police actually instituting tasers as a part of their weaponry. Now we're seeing the argument coming through where the tasers apparently are not good for this type of thing. So the police are starting to actually condition the New Zealand public to actually accept that they should have a gun on the hip, just like our Australian counterparts.
Well, this is the deal, isn't it, Phoebe? The tasers don't always work, so the police have to shoot people, don't they? And why aren't the New Zealand police being armed with the experimental taser shotgun used to take down Roel Mowat? Nothing says crime prevention like experimental weapons. Police need guns, don't they?
I don't think that they do, actually. And I think that, you know, arming police is going to have flow-on effects, and that what we're going to see is more and more armed criminals. I mean, it makes sense that, you know, if the police are going to end up in more and more violent confrontations, having a gun just increases the likelihood that you are going to have an armed incident. And I think that even John Key himself, in one of his classic flip-flops, you know, this week has been saying, look, I don't think it's going to decrease these sorts of incidents at all. In fact, you know, logically, it's probably going to increase them. This is a really bad thing.
But isn't it better at least for the police officer to have a gun?
Look, I can understand
Sure,
why...
the criminals are going to have them, but shouldn't the police officer have one as well?
I can understand why, if you're a police person going into a scene, there must be a sense of fear there, and you know, it must be quite terrifying. But as Selwyn has just said, they do have access to guns anyway at fairly ready supply. This is, you know, only going to increase the kind of trigger-happy approach, I think.
So we have a policing philosophy of containment so that conflict is actually and actively avoided. Is that philosophy under pressure from those who want to SWAT team the police up?
Well, it would be, in the sense that, you know, if you're going to strengthen up the responsive act of the police with firearms in the front end of it, well, then you're going to actually ease out, arguably, that part of diplomacy with somebody that's sitting there under a high degree of stress, obviously. You know, so those kind of proactive policing measures, meaning that if you've got a situation that has been inflamed and the individual who may be, you know, labelled an offender, is not given the opportunity to actually ease off, save face, and actually for the police to settle the thing, well then, you know, this whole idea of strategy on how to kill a situation is actually undermined. I think too, Bomber, that this whole issue goes back to New Zealand not doing enough when it had the opportunity to do so. There was the Thorpe report way back in the 1990s, and that was a Justice Thorpe inquiry into this, where the police never, the government never actually took on the advice or the recommendations and conclusions in that report, meaning a buyback of military-style automatics,
Yep.
all of these other dangerous hand pistols and things like that. The government didn't do that, and that was a national government, and the Labour Party, when it was in government, didn't do it either, and
Right.
only did not do that because it was costly.
Politically, who is going to push for arming the police with guns? Who's pushing for it, other than ACT? Who's pushing
Well,
for it?
the argument comes through from those who have humanitarianism high on their agenda. Those kind of ideals will come from the Green Party, and then others really strongly lobbying from outside of Parliament. The representation inside Parliament on such things is pretty thin.
Yeah, Sensible Citizen Trust, I think, want to give them fully automatic handguns,
Oh,
and
yeah,
lasers, and grenade launchers loaded.
You get the opinion that bazookas wouldn't satisfy some
Yeah.
people.
Phoebe, arming the police. Who wins by arming the police? Who loses?
I think we all lose.
Yeah?
I mean, there's only one way to put this: we all lose. It is going to increase the rate of violence in our society. We all lose.
Who wins? Who loses by arming the police?
Well, I think we're winning in the sense that the debate is actually in the public sphere. Should I say, in the public arena, the public sphere is actually taking shape from this.
Yeah.
There is a lot to be gained by making sure that those who may be victims of a senseless crime are protected. If the police are going to be there to do that, then we need to argue the case on how they do it and how they do not do it. At the moment, the fear would be if they have guns on the hips at all times, then we shift that debate away back into the arena of the police where they call the shots all the time.
Yeah.